r/AskReddit by Redical. Students of Reddit, what is something your teacher did that really pissed the whole class? In GCSE English he taught us the wrong novel for almost the entire term. We'd read this book over and over, answered essays and studied every significant narrative meaning. Apparently none of the faculty heads had checked up on him until about 6 weeks before our exams, when they realized all our work was on a book not even on the syllabus and all our time was effectively wasted. So to rectify it we lost all our pay lessons. Had to stay late after school 3 days a week and spend 3 out of 5 lunch breaks cram learning the actual book with another teacher. Safe to say our class wasn't happy at all and most parents complained as it could affect our ability to pass the exams. OMG, this sounds just like my GCSE history class. Teacher went off sick for almost all THR school year and only left one note for the supplies, which was to read and copy out a single page in the textbook. So for 5 months we had multiple different substitute teacher writing out the same page. Eventually we got a college lecturer to help us out, but we had to miss our pay lessons and catch up on history, and we had to come into school during the summer holidays to be taught by private tutors. We pretty much all failed. Head teacher of my high school tried to expel me for having an epileptic seizure in front of him. Said I was a danger and distraction to others' pupils and was disrupting his school. I ended up being kept out of school for 2 months while my parents fought my case. In that time almost all of the rest of the teaching staff, who were furious with this decision, kept me supplied with work and even one-to-one tutoring when needed. This was in a rural area where the next nearest school was 40 miles away, so we had no other school choice. My brother was finding his balance of medication while in high school and would have a seizure every so often in class. That by itself is embarrassing. Why the hell would somebody make it much more difficult for you? I'm sorry, friend. People suck. Happy ending. I finished the year with the top grades in my exams. The head teacher had to present me with a prize in front of the whole school. While he was shaking my hand and saying a very forced "well done," I replied, "No thanks to you." The applause etc covered it so no one else heard me, but he for sure did. 40-degree weather, Celsius, in outback Australia, and she wouldn't turn on the aircon in class even though it worked. Her reason was that when she was young she didn't have an aircon, and she survived. All the students hated her. Mine was the reverse. Middle of winter up in the Blue Mountains. Beach wouldn't turn the heater on in the mornings because she grew up without heated classrooms. And it's like, yeah, but you guys also were allowed to wear giant ducking coats, were you not? Where didn't they have heated classrooms? There is a schoolhouse by me built in the 1850s and they have a wood stove in the front. At university, my professor did not tell us the time of our examination, despite numerous emails from 20-odd students, as well as the head professor of the course. This exam could have been in a time from 9 AM to 5 PM, and I lived 90 minutes from campus and relied on crap public transport to get into uni. It got to 9 PM the day before the exam. No one knew when the exam would be, and if we missed it we would fail the whole module. So I took the train to the city where my uni is, booked a cheap, shitty hotel room for the night, just to make sure I was there on time. We all took the exam at 12 PM, after getting an email an hour before the exam was being held, so I wouldn't have made it in time if I stayed at home. Worst part was that no one cared. Not the professor, the course lead, or the head of our school. They all just left 30 students in the lurch, allowing them to potentially fail the exam and therefore the module. Sounds like a small university. The university I went to had a student population of around 10,000, so not huge. All our exam dates and times were published when we registered for courses. This could be changed in the first 2 weeks through registrar's office, but proper notice would be required. In my second semester of my first year of law school, everyone in my class, 80+ people, had to take a research class. This class was taught by 4 different law librarians but followed the same syllabus. It was also worth 1 credit. These librarians ran the class as if it was 3 credits. We had to read, conduct legal research, and write 2 memos throughout the semester, when we had 5 other classes, all within the 2-4 credit range, plus one specific class was notoriously difficult. Anyway, Halfway through the semester, my class gets pissed at the workload to credit ratio and someone starts a petition to reduce the number of assignments and or change the grading for the class from a letter grade to pass-fail. Almost the entire class signs. There were a few holdouts. The student who started the petition delivers it to the librarians. The librarians remove 1 or 2 assignments, but otherwise disregard the petition. Those who signed all awkwardly suffered through the rest of the semester. It's so annoying to get only 1 credit for a big class. Once a teacher said about a 1 credit class, actually this class should have more credits, but there weren't any left when dividing the credits. It also happens that classes are 0 credits and you're still scheduled to pass them. It's weird how the credits are divided. A study year is worth 60 credits. Then the credits are just divided somehow over all the classes, no matter how many classes and how much workload there is. The weirdest thing that happened was when my major shared a common subject with a different major. We had different but overlapping majors. This was one of the overlapping subjects. Because the other major had less subjects total, this subject was worth more credits to them than to my major. Because we all had to get 60 credits in a year, no matter the amount of subjects and the workload. Forced us to make a donation to a charity. When I didn't bring anything in, I got a demerit. Had to argue that not everyone has the ability to give something away. She then told me off for back chatting in front of the class. Everyone was like, WTF. God, you just gave me a flashback. I remember I had a teacher. She never actually taught me. I don't even know what her position at the school was. Yell at me for not bringing in canned foods for the food drive. She said I was lazy and not thinking of those less fortunate. She even took my agenda out of my desk and wrote it in my daily calendar to bring food. Like, sorry, I can't bring in food I don't have. Beach jokes on her though. I never used that agenda anyways and I still did bring stuff in. My work sent me on 3-day advanced Adobe Illustrator course last April in London. Just before the exam, the tutor said, "Oh, by the way, there may be a few questions on this exam that we haven't talked about. Just do your best." What the actual duck? My work has just paid £1,000 for this. His response was that he can't be expected to teach everything. There was about 6 students in the class and we were all pretty pissed. Can't be expected to teach everything. Yes, he is. It's his job. Make everyone come to college from 10 o'clock till 11:30 to hold presentations. Be 45 minutes late. Not tell students they aren't allowed to see each of the students' presentations and thus make them be at school at 10 o'clock without reason. Somehow take up 3x the amount of allocated time per presentation group. Finish at 1800 hours instead of 11:30. Let most of the student fail or just barely pass, in that particular order. She didn't believe in field trips because she said that kids would have too much fun and learning isn't supposed to be fun. However, the entire grade would take the trip, so she was required to take us. So she would make us all sit in a common area of the zoo, museum, etc. And she would hold classroom lessons. It was so upsetting to hear about all the cool things the other kids got to see while we had class. The fact that I still remember things I learned on fun field trips compared to the countless times I was in a classroom says a lot. Learning isn't supposed to be fun. She is the worst possible person to be a teacher. He would act like he was enlightened and say shit like video games rot your brain. All your free time should be spent on education as that is all that matters, but then during the lessons he would go completely off topic and start talking about random shit. Apparently he is making a board game that could compete with chess because he is just that brilliant. Screamed at the class because he assumed that an intermittent beeping sound that occurred throughout the lecture was somebody receiving texts. It was a projector that he was using, alerting him to the fact that it was overheating. Dumbass. That's almost as good as the timer substitute tried to confiscate a student's phone when it beeped. It was a diabetes thing attached to the student's body. Lunch monitor tried to do this to me once. She called me a liar and said, "Guess we're going to see the vice principal," and I said great idea and led her to his office. He was not amused. I had a college professor who was teaching a history course to a bunch of education majors in their junior year. She would ask us questions all the time about things she hadn't yet lectured on and then pull the "really? No one knows the answer to this? Well, I guess we'll just wait for someone to answer." We were all education majors. We knew that trick. We waited her out every single time. She always broke first. Edit. People keep asking what's the trick. This was a poorly executed attempt at using the Socratic method. It's better to have students arrive at an answer themselves than it is to tell them. However, you have to first create an environment of trust and respect so that students are comfortable enough to risk a wrong answer, and you have to be willing to provide a little bit of scaffolding should no one know. This professor did neither of those things. We were all education majors. We knew that trick. We waited her out every single time. She always broke first. This is the most satisfying thing I've read today. Thanks for watching this Reddical video. Subscribe for the best Reddit videos straight to your feed.